At a basic level, what Google and other search engines are trying to do, it's just Google has the biggest market share. I think over 60% of searches go through Google. They're trying to, in their own words, give the most relevant and useful content to the users at the moment they need it as possible. And so if you think through it through that lens, and gets into like good SEO tactics versus, white hat, black hat, bad, good. If you look at it through that lens of who's my user, who's my customer, what are they looking for? How can I give it to them and satisfy their need? In what format and at what time, at what place to make that need, met? And Google wants to reward you for doing that to your users, so they say. So that's how to think about it. It's a search engine's only job. And yes, it is curating and they're leaving certain results out, but they try to do their best to anticipate those users' needs or customers' needs and give them the best piece of content, the best web page, the best tool, best resource that fits those needs.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. As always, appreciate you joining me today. And please get your notepads out today because today's guest was dropping so many amazing resource bombs on us regarding all kinds of things that I was not familiar with. I have taken copious notes because it was really a fantastic show. His name is Ken Marshall, and Ken just breaks it down. I mean, like, he's the master of SEO, and it's something that, again, is kind of magical on our end, right? We really only hear about these terms and really don't necessarily understand the ongoings behind the scenes that really take place that really boosts your websites and your social media presence to higher heights and really gets to the searchability of you and your brand. So Ken Marshall is just really good. I really appreciate all the nuggets that he did. He is the managing partner at RevenueZen, and he's been doing this for the past 7 years and shifting his focus primarily to SEO and how to get like inbound traffic. So he was really amazing guest. I really want to give an opportunity to shout him out for that. And as always, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please leave a rating and or review on iTunes. It goes a long way for me to continuously get really excellent guests just like Ken. So let's jump into the show. Hey, Ken, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Omar, I am doing wonderfully. It's nice and sunny here in San Luis Obispo. Excited to chat. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. You, like we had discussed off air, you do have a unique skill set that I don't think I've touched on before, and that's SEO. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of health coaches probably have heard of, and they're aware of it. And there's just a lot of shiny things that one gets their certification and they're interested in jumping into. But this is definitely one of the top and most important things that can help a health coach get off the ground. So I want to just get into your story a little bit, how you became one of the co-founders of RevenueZen, of course, a magnificent company that addresses a whole bunch of different needs that maybe we'll touch on a little bit, but just a little bit about your background story.
Sure. And so, I mean, to take it like a little bit further than that, before I joined RevZen, which was last February, so February 2021, I actually started my own SEO agency. And before that, I was freelancing, and I never thought SEO was a thing, that was possible. Like, I'm sure a lot of people out there, it seems sort of magical and mystical. I was going to be, business development, sales, but I just realized that if I was going to start a business, it was something that I needed to learn that I could position myself well. And, nobody I knew of SEO either. So I was like, good opportunity. But yeah, I started that. I ran that for 4 years. It got to a place where we had a lot of cool processes, knowledge, and starting to think about technology. And then RevZen was like, hey, we do lead gen and some LinkedIn organic marketing, maybe a little bit of content, but not really like in the SEO game that deep. And so it was just a beautiful partnership. I lived in the same apartment building as our CEO, Alex, and the rest is history. A lot of rooftop conversations. So.
No, that's great. So like you said, it does seem kind of magical on the back end. And one of the things that I would like you to kind of walk us through, I think this episode gives us an opportunity to really just get back to the basics and really get a grasp of what SEO is. And can you give us what exactly SEO is, what it stands for, how does it work specifically, and maybe a little bit about why the importance of it is for a health coaches to at least keep it in the back of the mind in the beginning before they jump into it and take a complete dive.
Yeah, I love the what and the why, and I'm a big like strategy over tactics kind of human. And so the first thing I would say before even, diving into SEO, and for anybody out there listening, is, why does this channel make sense for your business? And do you have the time, energy and resources to make this work as a channel long term? Because it's very easy to, put $1 into Facebook ads. It's very easy, right, to start posting on social yourself, but the effort required is a little bit higher. But the return on investment over time is really, really good, especially for small businesses and local businesses. So with that out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
the what is very simply put, people search for products and services. Everyone does, B2B, B2C, B2B2C, all the time. And they want to look for information. They want to compare vendors. They want to find a login, or they want to purchase something, right? Their credit card's out. They want to buy a t-shirt, size medium. And so SEO is the practice of updating your website, creating content, making relationships with other websites that link back to yours, which build your credibility, all in an effort to show up higher for their search terms that they type in. So if I was looking for a B2B, SEO agency, and I'm the VP of marketing, or I'm even a health coach, somebody in your area looking for nutritional services, what are they going to do? They're going to pull out their phone, right? They're going to look for that, and they're going to see what's nearby. And so it's the process of having your website show up for those searches and satisfying the need of that human being so that they want to do business with you and interact with you. How I would say of like thinking about the why folks should do this is because, like unlike those other channels like paid and email, which are amazing in their own right for their own situations, organic is, as Seth Godin would say, permission-based marketing. Somebody that chooses you. It's like, if your significant other, if you have one, walked up to you and said, I think you're perfect for me. Can I get to know you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a dream to a lot of people, particularly if you're introverted. And so the why is you get those folks who are telling you they want to purchase something, they want to learn from you. And all you have to do is say yes and give them that thing. So that's the why.
No, that's excellent. What great way to define it. And that's one of the things I think is very interesting because, again, like the magical part of this is that there is a lot behind this. Like we've heard
Yeah.
terms like keywords, we've heard terms like even down to the basics of the search engine. Now, the search engine itself, like typically Google is in the business of trying to curate content or curate your actual website to be on top for what that specific person, like you're referring to, is looking for. Can you explain like how Google and the keywords kind of link together to try to bring those things up to the forefront?
Yeah, so again, very complicated. There's lots of mathematicians and PhD engineers working around the clock to make it so, to make it more intuitive and non able to be gamed, quote unquote. But at a basic level, what Google and other search engines are trying to do, it's just Google has the biggest market share. I think over 60% of searches go through Google. They're trying to, in their own words, give the most relevant and useful content to the users at the moment they need it as possible. And so if you think through it through that lens, and gets into like good SEO tactics versus, white hat, black hat, bad, good. If you look at it through that lens of who's my user, who's my customer, what are they looking for? How can I give it to them and satisfy their need? In what format and at what time, at what place to make that need, met? And Google wants to reward you for doing that to your users. So they say. So that's how to think about it. It's a search engine's only job. And yes, it is curating and they're leaving certain results out, but they try to do their best to anticipate those users' needs or customers' needs and give them the best piece of content, the best web page, the best tool, best resource that fits those needs. And so that's the best thing to keep in mind.
So, as a health coach who's looking to optimize their SEO, how much of it is on them to really establish what they're actually offering and how to then navigate into this system where that they can be found specifically? You mentioned locally. What if a person really wants to have more of a bigger brand that's outside of just their local market? Can you talk about that a drop?
Yeah, a little. I definitely will, and I'll say two things. One, always want to give the best foundational business advice before I talk about SEO tactics. So I'll say if you don't have your ideal client profile, your target customer, your target user, it doesn't have to be this big, crazy exercise. HubSpot has a free generator. You can sit with a pencil and a paper and a beer on the weekend, but just write down, yeah, what humans am I trying to target? Where do they live? What 5 pain points do they go through on a daily basis? How does my solution map to each of those pain points? How does my course or my resource center on the blog? How does my coaching? How does it map to that? And so once you have that defined, your clear services, your clear products, who you're serving, then you can start to say, okay, if I don't want to target folks internationally, I just want to go in the next 3 counties over, you're going to start with something like Google My Business, which for those people who don't know, that's when businesses show up on Google. You actually have to submit your information for them to showcase it properly. And it's through Google My Business. So everything else flows from who you're trying to target and how you're trying to target them. If you have, let's say, 3 different coaching offerings, instead of one service page on your website, why don't you have 3, right? Where you talk about that specific offering that they're going to get, that specific pricing. There's SEO tactics to improve that. But those are the basics of as far as how you can start to think about optimizing. It's what is this page actually trying to accomplish, or this piece of content? Is there any information about, let's say you're a health coach. Do you have resources for people that are looking to improve their nutrition before they want to get in touch with you to build confidence? If you think about it, everyone goes through a buying decision-making process. It's also called the buyer's journey, but it's awareness, consideration, and then they want to make a decision. So have you fulfilled those needs? SEO is just taking the aspects of your website, like the title, the URL, right, and mapping it to those things that a buyer would normally do. So
That's interesting you said that, because I guess that's one of my first questions regarding like how um, it works, because you did mention content, which I hope that we get a chance to get into that a little bit about how we can, update our content to make it make sense and get caught in and actually looked at. You could have a particular post inside of your website as well that can actually generate leads too, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, because I guess my perception when I first started understanding SEO is like, I don't know why I was obsessed with the fact that somehow it would be captured just my homepage, right? I'm not sure why that.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's a very good to do. So in that respect, how does the content that we put on the website capture some of this interest in these search engines?
Yeah, so that's probably the most important question to generating actual business with SEO, rather than getting 5,000 users a month and $0, right? Because
Yeah.
some people think the goal is traffic. The goal is not traffic as a business owner. That's a good lead indicator, a good, key performance indicator, but the goal is to improve your business, get leads, get phone calls, right? Get form submissions, get purchases for your product. So what I'll start by saying is that I won't get into like every one of the 200 factors Google looks at for optimization. If you just type in Brian Dean backlinko on page SEO, you could maybe put that in the show notes. That'll give everyone the step-by-step in plain English, how to optimize. What I want to do is give like more of how to think about this to what somebody can go do tomorrow without any SEO knowledge. What I would say is, take that human being that we just did, and this is a simple exercise, whoever your target customer is. And I usually tell people write down 5 to 10 major pain points in their day-to-day life. Then write down what you offer, every single offer, every aspect of your offer, and literally draw a line between those offers to that pain point. And then draw another line and maybe a column or a spreadsheet and say, now, how does my product or service answer that need? And we call that the solution bucket. If you take those solutions and you look at it on your website, what you want is essentially 4 things. One, do I have at least 10 to 20 resources to educate people about those solutions without selling to them? right? That's the awareness stage when somebody's not ready to buy, but they're curious to learn more about something. If you don't have that, you're never going to attract people in the first place. People don't land on your website to buy from you at first. They land on your website because, I mean, if you're really, if you're a huge company, like a Fortune 500, then yes, they're going to type your name in to do business with you. But for people starting out, for these, health coaches, the key thing is to educate people first. In the middle, for the awareness stage, what you're going to want to do is maybe create a resource like, hey, this is a 10-step checklist to getting fit after a leg injury, right? Something that they can chew on that builds your authority in their mind. Then you're going to want to get into each of your services, each of your products, just without even knowing how to optimize it. Create a product or a product page or a service page talking about the difference in how you help athletes versus, maybe a mom or a dad who's doesn't have a lot of time and they only have 30 minutes a day versus somebody who wants only nutritional coaching and as their fitness is good. Make a page for all of it because somebody wants to then learn about your solutions. Then you want to take, case studies, customer stories. We call that social proof. That's the decision-making stage, right? How are they going to decide if they want to work with you now that they've been educated and compared solutions? And then give them a place to convert. It could be a call to action on a page that says, get in touch with me for a free consultation. Here's what you get. It could be a sales page, but you want to give them a clear place to convert. So thinking through a person's journey of how they might buy from you at every stage, not just selling, but also not just educating, is the way to go because they're going to make those decisions anyway. So it's either on your site or somewhere else, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And it just really, I love the way that you explain it because I think what you're doing is really setting a strong foundation of why, at its baseline about SEO specifically, and really just some of the things that we can take advantage of. Now, I guess a lot of people are aware of stuff like, the get them in our funnel, that's kind of the big thing. Now, does the funnel itself have anything that affects the SEO?
Yeah, so you can have. So when I say funnel, by the way, just to be clear, like when I talk about that decision-making journey, it's not linear. Everyone's not literally going to read this blog post and then look at this service page and then convert. What you're doing is giving everyone who shows up to your site, a choose your own adventure grab bag. And no matter what journey they want to take, you've empowered them to do it, at least from organic. A true funnel is something that you literally outline every step and you optimize every step until it's profitable. And so you can have organic based funnels like landing pages that don't have the navigation, right? We've all seen them. You can't click out. They just want you to go through and buy. However, I would say it's not really conducive to good like SEO and content strategy. That's more conducive to like paid or email marketing when you're driving somebody directly to the funnel at the top of it. And it can affect how Google perceives you if those pages live on your site. So if you are going to build a funnel, I would suggest that you use your current website, not a third-party tool like ClickFunnels or something, if you want to improve your SEO as a result. Those tools are all amazing, like Unbounce, ClickFunnels. However, they don't affect your SEO at all. So if you're going to want to give a bonus with the content you're producing with your funnel, build the pages on your website. Just keep them sort of hidden from the primary navigation.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's just really, really interesting. Like at the end of the day, again, we've really trying to just establish ourselves in some of the terminology which you're helping us out with. And we just hear like a lot of these shiny objects when we get out of the health coaching certification programs. And it's just want to do absolutely everything. so people hear about the funnels, people hear about the SEO, people hear about a lot of variations of trying to drive business to them. But thank you for really breaking it down for us. It's really helpful.
Yeah. And I will say real quick, Omar, that's super important for that's why I'm trying to sort of say these business fundamentals and marketing fundamentals first, because if you have a website that is the ultimate, has all of those aspects of it that I just mentioned, you can choose, you can be on LinkedIn, you can be on Twitter, you can be on Facebook, you can do SEO blog posts. But before you start driving traffic, you'll still convert people into customers at a much higher rate if you have those fundamentals without zero knowledge of marketing, because you're giving them the things they need to make a good decision to work with you. And so it's so easy to go after like the newest channel and I got to be on TikTok, I got to be on here. And I actually think it's good to experiment, but when you're getting started, it's the best to like get your house in order, figure out who you're targeting, set them up for success once they get to you. Then you can start driving traffic and, spending money or spending more time to like deploy those other channels. But if you get the basics right, it doesn't matter if you call people up personally, they're going to look you up on your website. That's one of the first things they're going to do. And if your website just wows them and educates them and gives them a clear path to working with you, it doesn't matter if you have 10 users per month. Two of them are going to become better customers than figuring out how to get 2,000, but zero of them convert. So that's why I always say start there.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Now, I was doing some research on SEO before I had this conversation with you, and one of the things that they said affects your SEO in a positive name is your domain name. Given that this has been a thing for a couple decades now, there's not a lot of domain names left that I think is going to just catch. Is there any relevance to that? Can you just talk about that a bit?
There is extremely slightly. It's an extremely slight. It's not even a ranking factor anymore. It's like a signal to Google. However, it's been flipped on its head in the last sort of 5-6 years, where you used to be able to, like, let's say, instead of RevenueZen, we would have been B2BSEOagency.com, right? That would be the play back in the 90s, early 2000s. But Google actually started hammering down on these people and actively penalizing them because, again, they weren't real businesses. They weren't providing real value. They were trying to game the system, which that stuff doesn't fly anymore. So what I would tell people with domain names, and what Google's doing and will do in the future, is this is the future. So you're future-proofing yourself. Pick a business name that you're going to build your brand around, because not only does Google look at your website to judge if they should rank you, they look at business directories. They look at what you name, marketing materials that they find. When you mention your name on a podcast, they index that information. They have transcripts of all that stuff. And they say, hey, why is this person calling them health coaches, the best health coaches.co? But yet it's Carrie's health program when she speaks about her business. And that difference, right? It cheapens how they perceive your authority. And the lower your authority, the lower you rank. The more you're seen as a trustworthy business or human being, the better you rank, even without a keyword in your title. So that's why I tell people, Yahoo, Google, these aren't words. These are brands that people took and built a brand around, and good products and a good reputation. That's why they perform well, not because their domain name is a keyword. So yes, it has a slight bump, but if you're going to build a business, create an actual brand name that you're going to name everything everywhere, because that'll be better in the long term. So
yeah, so they're actually looking out for the bait and switch. They don't want someone to say, I do this, and then all of a sudden they do something completely different.
Yeah, man, that stuff is very, very, very old school SEO it's not only a neutral now, it'll get you penalized. It'll actively hurt you. So that's why I say just pick a good brand name and stick to it. Okay. Just build the brand. People don't care about the name, right? Names go by the wayside as the brand grows in authority. So
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I was going to follow up, because I know many coaches, including myself, we use our names as our domain names. So as long as we're consistent with branding according to our actual names and what we represent, we should be fine.
100%. And that's the thing. If you have a name, especially, you really, really want to be consistent, because somebody might have a similar name, or, you never want to be the person who has, like, I used to work with lawyers, and they would always say, why don't I show up for my name? It's like, well, you have, AVO, the lawyer directory. And so you have to be consistent so that when people search for you, they're not landing on Facebook or the business directory, the health coach directory. They land on your website where you've curated your experience for them. So,
gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. So I do want to go back to the keywords, because I think that obviously, again, this is a topic that I think we've heard of. Where are we putting these keywords in, like, our SEO? Is this something that we should be driving in our content? Say that for instance, I'm like, a weight loss coach, or someone out there who's say a diabetic coach. Are we supposed to try to consistently curate the content with adding these words, or this is a hashtag thing? I just wanted to figure out, like, the elementary point of keywords just overall.
Absolutely. So I'll say that keywords now or the way that search engines use them are so sophisticated, they understand the context of what you're saying in the English language apart from just typing in that word. So for instance, if I were to type in, you know, health coach near me, somebody who's a nutritionist will show up because Google understands that sometimes when somebody's talking about health, they mean fitness, they mean nutrition, they mean mental, spiritual, emotional well-being. And so they're going to return the person that they think is best for that. So instead of just thinking about, how can I add in some keywords or add in some optimization and sort of sprinkle it on as like an afterthought, I always say, brainstorm what it is you're writing about, whether it's your service, your product, the information you're writing on your blog, and say, what's the topic? And let's just say it's the benefits of bone broth on mental health. I don't know. You would, instead of just saying bone broth over and over again, what you would want to do is say, okay, if I'm somebody wanting to learn about bone broth, what would I need to know to feel complete if I had zero knowledge? And as this expert, you should be able to flesh that out ahead of time. Now, without even doing any research, if you've done a good job of looking at, the search results, just type it in, what you're thinking the topic might be, see what kind of other articles around there, ask your existing clients, like what they find useful, brainstorm. That serves to like go at the topic or the keyword in a way that's more holistic rather than just saying, here's what, bone broth is for mental health, and then saying that word over and over again. So keywords should be more like, this is what my customer or my user is thinking about, and this is what the market is demanding. And so I can write something comprehensive and useful towards that topic versus just thinking about it as one keyword, a quick write-up and spamming that over and over again. This should guide the kind of information I need to provide them because this is a need that they have. And so a few things that people can do like tactically is, one, there's a free tool called Google Search Console. And what it does is it shows you every keyword that somebody types in and the website, the part of your website that they land on. And so you can take that and begin to say, oh, I wrote this article about mental health. And what's actually showing up is people looking for how to improve early signs of depression. And Google Search Console will tell you that. And then you can amend that article, right? So now we're playing the game of like ongoing optimization. So that's one, is just, you can get that data for free, and it's really helpful of what people want from you and how they're finding you. The second thing is, if you go to could be in the show notes too, but a site called Ahrefs, so Ahrefs, and you type in keyword research, they have an amazing beginner's guide of like how you can use free tools like, Google's own keyword tool is free, right? No better source than from Google directly. Or there's a site called Answer the Public, which curates every question anybody asks on the internet and shows you how many people and how they're talking about different topics. And then you can use that to inform your content and the guide I mentioned before to optimize it. But I would think about keywords as like a guide, like a North Star of how to make something amazing to satisfy somebody's need, and then use your expertise to flesh it out. And that'll rank well, even if you don't know what you're doing, because you're helping people.
Wow, no, that's a great advice, and I appreciate those resources that you provided. So, I usually have these shows about 30 minutes, and I know we're closing in on about that time. One of the things I wanted to just talk about too, and I think you've definitely highlighted it, and I'm not sure if this is something that we should be diving into at this point without the basic fundamentals of our business and our target audience, et cetera, as you explained. Like, what are the advantages of paid ads? And is this something that we should be looking into? Or is there a threshold where you say, hey, you know what, maybe it's time that we can take advantage and get some paid clicks?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of paid ads at the beginning, and sort of like the end stages of a business. The beginning, though, only if you have the resources and you have a laser focus on exactly how what you provide satisfies the biggest, most like baddest pain point that somebody has. Like if you have that vision mapped out and you've been a consultant for a long time and you know what you're doing, you know exactly what converts and why people convert, then I think paid is a good way to like ramp up your lead gen or revenue or demand generation quickly. But that isn't it doesn't, that isn't most people. And so they
Mhm.
think paid is sort of like going to be this magic thing where you put money in and you get money out, but that only happens when you have a really optimized strategy and funnel. And so what I would say is, if you're just starting out, paid is probably going to frustrate you and waste some money, especially if you don't have a lot of it. I would
Mhm.
say at least have $1,000 just to spend on the first few months, just to test, because you will be testing before it's profitable. But what I would say before paid ads is go through and test a funnel. Test it with traffic you send somebody manually. Maybe you do a webinar, maybe you run a group, maybe you go to your local business meetup and just test it. And then get a really clear picture of who you're targeting, that exercise we did in the beginning, what you serve, and then how it meets their needs. Because you're going to waste a lot of money in the beginning, especially if you try to run them yourself. But I love paid ads for various reasons at various stages of business. And I think it's a great way to scale organic, especially on Google ads. Once you know what keywords work, you can pay to see how profitable they are. And then you can build them into your strategy and organic. So they work really nicely together. But in the beginning, for somebody who's just starting out and hasn't ran a business, there's better ways to use your resources, more guerrilla style ways to get customers. So,
No, absolutely. So I guess one of the questions that I have left is, does social media actually help in SEO, or is it separate and apart?
yeah, if I was any type of like health or fitness coach, I would be all over Instagram and TikTok and even LinkedIn if I'm helping in more of a professional or even B2B kind of space. Maybe I was helping CEOs get more fit so they could be higher performance. But it absolutely helps. As far as with SEO directly, it's not really a ranking factor. Like Google doesn't like, oh, here's your Instagram, you have X amount of followers, you get this bump. What it does is say, oh, look at how much people love this business. Look at how much buzz this coach is getting.
Mhm.
We'll keep our eye on them, is what I mean. It's more of a signal rather than a ranking factor. But the more buzz you generate on the internet, the more time people mentions your name. Again, Google has all of this information and they use it. It's just
Mhm.
you're not going to see like night and day increases just because you do a post. But over time, the more buzz you have, the more your name is recognized, the more authority, and that'll trickle down to your rankings. So.
Mm. Oh, there's definitely magic going on there, Ken. I know that you said it wasn't magic,
It
but
can
there's
feel like magic sometimes when it works. Yeah.
no, definitely. Listen, but you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for breaking it down into such elementary understanding levels, because that's one of the things that I know is difficult, and sometimes in the back of our mind that we should actually pay a little bit more attention, if not a lot more. So I do want to give you a quick opportunity to just talk about where we could find you and this company, and maybe a couple other things that RevenueZen does that a health coach might be interested in looking into.
Yeah, absolutely. So hang out with me on LinkedIn. I'm the kind of person that rather than try to be more of an influencer, which some people is the strategy, I just like sharing different strategies and tactics that work. So a lot of the things you'll read on my profile aren't maybe the most funny or entertaining, but they're definitely going to help you out. So you can go hang out with me on there. You can go to our website, and our resource center has every single deliverable and strategy that we do for our clients published on there. We do that because we believe in organic. And so we want to help educate people before they want to do business with us. So everything I just said and more can be found on our website if you have the time and energy to go read it or
Mm-hmm.
watch it. So that's thing number 2. And thing number 3, for, again, people that are thinking about LinkedIn, we do have an offering, but typically we work with more mid-market companies. There's a little bit more established, but we do have an online course for social selling, which is basically, instead of just being an influencer, how do you utilize social media, particularly LinkedIn, to get customers and interest and leads? And that's at a price point that maybe somebody who's getting into the game can afford a little bit more. So go check that out. There's a description of it. It's pretty cool. So.
Appreciate that. Listen, you've been fantastic, and thank you for all the helpful tips. I know it's very valuable for our audience. I'm going to look into a couple as well. I'm always looking to improve upon, my website, my social media and whatnot. So I know that the like-minded health coaches are going to be doing exactly the same. So I thank you for your time and your description of everything. It was really, really enlightening.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. All right. So have a great rest of the day. Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.